5 billion. That's a big number. Like, try to imagine 5 billion of anything. I can't even count that high, let alone imagine it. If I'm being honest with you, we spend over $5 billion on the NYPD, according to the fiscal 2022 executive budget. We need we need police reformation because this is an exorbitant expense that we cannot afford for what we're getting. The current cost of the NYPD is entirely too high. There are plans for a new firearms training facility at Robbins Neck in the Bronx. The project plans to spend $230 million over the course of the next 3 years. The police department also has the highest overtime expenditures of any city agency. The NYPD spent $837 million in fiscal 2020 in overtime alone. That's nearly $1 billion on just overtime. The NYPD has been using targeted and ineffective policing methods. Broken windows policing was an issue. This was favored under the Giuliani era. The idea behind broken windows policing is that small instances of social and physical disorder in urban spaces can contribute to creating an environment of lawlessness that would encourage more serious crimes. So the idea was to make aggressive misdemeanor arrests for small petty crimes like vandalism and so forth, and that would actively prevent more severe crimes from occurring. Then, under the Bloomberg administration, we had stop and frisk. Stop and frisk policing was when an officer temporarily detained a person, even using reasonable force to do so. The officer must have a reasonable suspicion that you are have committed, or about to commit a crime. During a stop, you're not under arrest, but you are not free to leave. And then the frisk is the next step. That's another step. It goes a step further. They can search on your person and determine whether or not something is a weapon. If they find something on your person that they think is a weapon, they can confiscate that from you. Um, the majority of the people who are stopped are people of color, and a vastly disproportionate number are black. Since 2003, when data including racial breakdown statistics was made available, there hasn't been a year where at least 52% of people who were stopped weren't black. That means that over half of the stops that have been conducted since 2003 have been with black people or have involved black people. 2011 was the year with the most stops on record. 685,724 stops were recorded. 88% of those were innocent for no reason. That means that there were 605,328 stops. There are no stops that were innocent, and there's no evidence that all of these stops make New Yorkers feel safer, but we do know that these stops have been unlawful, and some of them had led to violent police misconduct. Overpolicing is another issue. Overpolicing is the use of excessive force to brutally disenfranchise neighborhoods while also targeting people of color indiscriminately. And in a quote from Rhonda Lee in Hession's paper titled Overpolicing and Underprotecting in American Cities, it states that in the 1960s, police attacked civil rights protesters with dogs and water hoses in the name of law and order. In the 1980s and 70s, it was well known that Chicago Police Department was engaging in torture tactics. Under Police Commander John Burge, over 100 black men were tortured into giving false confessions for crimes that they did not commit under the guise of a simple traffic violation. Underpolicing is also another issue at the same time, as ironic as it may seem. But underpolicing is best described as a feeling of lack of safety in people of color's neighborhoods, with interactions with the police, as well as just feeling unsafe from crime overall. Police officers often don't respond as quickly to the cry for help from people of color. They disregard their victimization. Hession quotes Dalton Bennett, who states, in some cases, fewer than 30% of homicides result in arrest, while upwards of 70% lead to arrest in more racially homogeneous communities. In the past decades, nearly 26,000 or in the past decade, nearly 26,000 murders have gone without an arrest in major American cities. Of those, 18,000 of the victims, nearly three-fourths, were black. Police also do not hire the best people for the role at all times. Robert Jordan sued the city of New London in Connecticut in 2000. This was over the fact that he wasn't offered a position after scoring too highly on the cognitive ability of his written application test. Police also don't understand de escalation. It's misunderstood and demonized when actually it helps to reduce injury for all parties involved. Robert Engel, who is a professor of criminal justice at the University of Cincinnati, stated for some law enforcement, de escalation is a loaded word. What they hear is, you're teaching me to hesitate, and that's going to get me killed. A groundbreaking study by Engel showed that de escalation training can dramatically reduce injuries among civilians and law enforcement officers alike. Police are entirely too trigger happy and don't want to resolve issues in a peaceful manner in the way that we need them to. We need compassionate community policing from our officers. Community policing is the idea of police creating positive collaborative partnerships and bonds with the individuals in the communities that these officers serve. This can help solve problems and solutions and increase trust in police. It is also important to have police who are actually familiar with the area that they patrol and know how to engage with the people who reside there. For example, the Charlottesville Police Foundation hosts a teen night to promote positive engagement between officers and the community youth. In addition, they subsidize housing for officers within city limits. This helps helps the officers ingrain themselves in the community and get to know the people who they protect on an actual level. They get to know them as neighbors instead of just the people that they protect and serve. So, in conclusion, there are a number of actionable steps that can be taken for police reformation. We need to have encouragement for compassionate training. Police need an emphasis on creating good relationships within their communities and building trust in good faith. Police also need to actively seek the best officers. Police need comprehensive testing that shows one's aptitude for good policing instead of penalizing potential officers for doing too well on their tests. Police also need to end harassment against people of color. Police need to address all concerns fairly and equally, as well as abide human rights that every person is entitled to. Lastly, the police must also allocate their resources properly. We don't need to continue to overfund gun ranges that strengthen a shoot first, talk later mindset, nor do we need to fund overtime man hours for policies fueled by prejudice and harassment. With these changes, I truly believe that we can have a police force that everyone can trust to protect and defend them honestly and equally.